So this past year I started two movements on my YouTube channel, and I hope I have a few followers by now. Last year I started an SLM movement, Single Lives Matter. I talked about how singles face an uphill battle with workplace issues, with politics issues, with social life issues, with even getting accepted just generally, right? And then this year I started a DLM movement. My inspiration for DLM, Different Lives Matter, was that we had started to reopen our economy, and I have some differences, right? I would go to a public venue and I have to tell people around me that I have to refuse various foods. I have dietary restrictions. People hear about my religious views. I'm an atheist, by the way. Or they hear about the way I like to relax is very different from them, or various issues like that, right? And I don't think anybody really takes offense at that, but people don't know how to mingle with that because they've never experienced it, and they can't seem to live and let live with some of these differences, right? They want to make it the center of attention. So imagine next year I'll probably fly on an airplane again, and I sit down next to somebody and I'll tell them to please be careful if they're eating, because I have eczema and I need to be careful not to come into contact with various ingredients. I wish in an ideal world these people would just accept that and just be as careful as they can, right? I'm not asking them to go beyond, right? I'm just saying that just be aware that there's a situation, and if something does happen, I take responsibility for it, right? If I have to, I carry things to help me with that. But I'm sure you don't want something to happen either, right? In an extreme case, if we have to divert the plane, it's going to bother you and everybody else, right? It's not just going to bother me anymore at that point, right? That's what I mean by Different Lives Matter, right? Accept that there are things out there that are novel to you and do your best at them, right? But some people get very offended. I was on a plane one time where somebody, we were talking about various things. This is just before the 2016 election. We were talking about that. We were talking about, we were going to on our way to Germany. We were talking, I was going to go to Frankfurt and then transfer to Warsaw. And we're talking about his life in Germany, and as soon as I mentioned the allergies, he completely loses his English, and he wasn't able to talk to me. And I had to ask the flight attendant to change seats, and the flight attendant actually said that this is not something you should ask the passenger sitting next to you. Next time, talk to me instead. And I said, oh, I apologize. I've talked to other passengers before without a problem. And she's like, no, don't do that. And so she made sure to ask the other passenger for me, and I switched seats, and that's fine. But this is what I mean by DLM, right? I very politely talked to this person next to me. I very politely asked the flight attendant to change seats, but they're unwilling to accept that there are differences in life. They're unwilling to learn new things and grow, right? They live in their bean counter way of life, right? That's what I mean by DLM. Unfortunately, on September 1st, I'm going to have to return to the office. I'm an adjunct professor, and I'm going to run into a slew of differences over there, right? My least favorite question to answer, and this one I'm really nervous about, is when I request any sort of time off, right? Vacation time. And I really hate it because it really highlights the fact that I really don't own my time off, right? If my coworkers, if my boss doesn't agree with what I like to do with my time off, it's a problem, right? And it really goes to show just how many hours a day I'm on the clock at work, right? A lot of times it feels more like 24/7, because if there's something at home they disapprove of, that's a problem, right? Anyways, that's what I mean by the DLM movement.